Officer Sue, I presume?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give on the matter before the arbitrator is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
What is your name?
Officer Sue,
And where are you employed?
the Grand Rapids Police Department.
And what is your position with the police department?
I'm an officer.
How long have you been employed there?
10 years.
And you have one prior incident of discipline, right?
That is correct.
And could you go ahead and please tell me what happened on the afternoon of August 31st?
Officer Tom and I were in our patrol area when we saw James throw a rock at the car in front of us. The car swerved and almost hit a civilian that was riding a bike. We immediately stopped the car and radioed to dispatch that we were on the scene. We made sure everybody was okay. We spoke with the driver and asked if they wanted to press charges because of the malicious destruction of property that James caused. The driver said yes, so then we proceeded to speak with James, and I spoke with him and told him that he was under arrest for throwing a rock at a car and creating malicious destruction of property, as well as being an incorrigible juvenile, because I had spoken with him 3 times prior. I read him his Miranda rights and made sure he understood. James was upset and wasn't able to speak clearly, so I put him in the back of the patrol car till he's calmed down, and so I could get his parents, which they shortly arrived after. Like the same thing that I saw James throw a rock at a car, which gives me enough reason to arrest him. Also that he caused malicious destruction of property, and I also arrested him because I ran into this problem with him before. I felt that it was needed to take further action, so he understood that it wasn't acceptable to throw rocks at cars. I care about James, and I want to make sure that he grows up on the right side of the law and that he doesn't end up in jail. So after I explained this to his parents, I released him from the patrol car as well as the handcuffs, and then notified them that the case would be turned over to the prosecutor's office and that a warrant for his arrest may be issued at a later date.
All right. And do you make it a point to drive past his house on a regular basis because of the prior incidents?
No.
Okay. Do you believe you used reasonable force by arresting James?
Yes, because I've spoken with James three times prior, and because I saw the rock hit the car and the danger that it put the car driver and the civilian, and I felt that it was appropriate to make sure James knew this is a serious situation.
Was James physically injured during the arrest?
No.
All right. During the situation, did you ever think that your actions could lead to discipline?
I did not. I used reasonable force, and I used my best judgment in the situation. I saw him throw the rock, which gives me, enough reason to arrest him, let alone the fact that I've spoken with him 3 times before.
You don't think you violated any of the employment rules?
I do not, no.
All right, that's all.
Yeah.
Are there any more questions from the union?
Oh, no, sorry, that was it. No further questions.
Okay. Does the employer have any cross-examination?
Yes. Am I free to start cross-examination?
Pardon me?
Am Am I free to start cross-examination?
Yes, go right ahead.
What is your position with the police department?
I'm an officer.
How long have you been with the police department?
10 years.
What time did your shift start that day you arrested James?
It started at 2 p.m., but I got to the department at 1.
How did you know what patrol route you were supposed to take?
We don't have a typical route. We are assigned an area, and we can patrol as we see fit.
What time did you get out onto the road?
Like I said, my shift started at 2, and I was at the department at 1, but we officially started our shift and got moving around 2.
What time did the incident occur?
Around 4 p.m.
Where did the incident happen?
We were headed north on 6th Street, and the car was in front of us, and then James, it was at the intersection of 6th and Pine, so James was on the north side of Pine.
So this happened at an intersection?
Near one, yes.
How many people would you say were around?
Really just the people involved, myself, Officer Tom, James, and then the driver of the car in front of us. It didn't really cause a scene.
Were you on your regular route?
Like I said, we don't have a regular route. We're assigned an area.
When did you first see James?
We were driving north on 6th Avenue, and I saw him throw a rock.
What was James doing to him?
Standing on the side of the street, throwing rocks.
Who was with you?
Officer Tom.
Did you discuss your course of action with your partner?
Course of action for what?
Pulling over the car in front of you, and then second, your interaction with James.
The car in front of us pulled over immediately because the rock caused so much damage that they couldn't see. I mean, they swerved because they couldn't see. And so that car was already obviously stopped to assess the situation. And I was driving, so I was kind of taking the lead, and we didn't discuss anything before we got out of the car. Honestly, my partner just really observed.
When you stopped, what was the first thing you said to James?
I told him that he shouldn't be throwing rocks at cars, which he knows because I've spoken to him before. I also explained to him that because of throwing the rock at the car, he caused malicious destruction of property. So by throwing the rock and causing the damage, he broke 2 laws. As well as he was being an incorrigible juvenile because this is the 4th time that this has happened.
Did you read James's rights?
I did.
Did he give any response that indicated he understood his rights?
Yep, I asked him, and he kind of, he was crying. He was a little upset because of the situation, so he kind of shook his head and mumbled, and I clarified with him. I asked him to say yes or no, so I was sure he understood. And he did say yes.
Did you know the age of James before you stopped?
Yes.
How old was he?
James is 7 years old.
You say that you arrested him for being an incorrigible juvenile. Do you think James, a 7-year-old, knew what incorrigible meant?
First of all, I arrested him for throwing a rock at a car as well as malicious destruction of property. An incorrigible juvenile, I mean, that just kind of seals the deal on my decision to arrest him. That's, 3 offenses in one, situation. The 3 prior incidences, I didn't use the term incorrigible juvenile. He knows that throwing rocks is not okay. So I didn't ask him whether or not he specifically understood the term, but he knew.
So this was the first time you've used the term incorrigible?
Yeah, I guess.
Do you think it's important for civilians to understand what they are under arrest for?
Yes, and I did. I explained that he is not, it's illegal to throw rocks at cars, and it's also against the law to destroy property that isn't yours. And he knew that, and I can reference those laws if you'd like. The fact that he was an incorrigible juvenile wasn't the main reason he was under arrest. It just gave me further confirmation that it was okay to arrest him. It was the law.
Did you use handcuffs with James?
Yes, I did.
Do you think using handcuffs on a 7-year-old is necessary?
Because of the fact that I have spoken with him 3 times prior, I thought that further action needed to be taken to show James that this is a serious matter. The driver almost hit somebody on a bicycle. That was an innocent civilian that, obviously doesn't deserve to be hurt. I also want to make sure that, James, understands what he's doing wrong, and so that he doesn't repeat this and kind of, do other things, when he's older. And also, just because James is a juvenile doesn't mean I can turn the other cheek. He broke the law. That's the bottom line. And the fact that he's done it more than once, I think proves that further action needed to be taken. I was sure to report all the previous incidences, and I believe that he needed to know what he did was wrong, and his behavior needs to change.
All right. What did James' father say to you when he came running up?
He was just really upset, kind of, yelling at me, like, what are you doing? You can't do this. And so I just kind of took a moment to explain that, James was yet again throwing rocks at cars, and this time it caused severe damage to a windshield, and also that, the driver almost hit a civilian. I also explained to him, or I don't know that I explained it, but I said that he was an incorrigible juvenile because of his prior incidences.
So what was the reason that he gave his father for the arrest?
I told him that he was throwing rocks at cars again, and that he caused damage to a car.
We would like to note that this is different than what the police report says in the summary of police report number 4 in the evidence case book. As for the reason given to the father for the arrest.
What did he say?
It's in there. So line 4.
Yeah.
You need to do it. I'll interject on this one.
I can read it for you. This is the second half of the 4th incident report. It says, I being Sue, I pulled over behind the victim's car, and he said he wished to press charges. James was arrested for throwing a rock at a motor vehicle as well as malicious destruction of property. I informed his parents that he was being an incorrigible juvenile and that this was the 4th time I had had an incident with James for this behavior. He was later released to his mother and father. I advised James's parents that this case would be turned over to the prosecutor's office and that a warrant may be obtained for his arrest. I don't believe that is different from what I'm saying now.
I guess just the distinction I was bringing to light, I guess, was the phrase right after you explained to his parents that James was being an incorrigible juvenile. You didn't make mention to them that he was being arrested for malicious destruction of property.
In the previous statement, I do, though. So, do I have to mention it before and after? Is there a rule about that?
I'm just drawing clarification what you explained to his parents.
Well, Would you like me to explain it again?
Nope. So, all in all, he did not get brought to jail. Why did you decide not to bring him downtown?
Because the law says that I can't. Any juvenile that's arrested needs to be released back to their parents, and then, the case goes to the prosecutor's office, and they make that call.
One last question. Did you place him in the back of the police car?
As mentioned before, when you arrest a juvenile, the first thing you need to do is get a hold of the parents as soon as possible. I put him in the back of the police car, so I knew he, wouldn't try to run or do anything like that. Officer Tom was going to stay with him. Had the parents not shown up on scene, he would have stayed and I would have gone to get his parents.
All right, that's all the questions we have.
Are there any other questions?
Nope.
No.
Do we have any other witnesses?
Yes, my partner, Officer Tom.
Okay. Okay, would you raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give on the matter before the arbitrator is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
What is your name?
Tom,
Where are you employed?
Grand Rapids Police Department.
What is your position with the police department?
I'm an officer as well as the union steward.
How long have you been employed there?
I've been employed at the department for 15 years, and I've been the union steward for 10.
Could you tell me what happened the afternoon of August 31st?
Yes, Officer Sue and I were on patrol, and we were heading north on 6th Avenue when we noticed a juvenile throw a rock at a car in front of us, cracked the windshield, swerved, and he almost hit a person riding a bike. He pulled over, and we pulled over as well. About that time, he already called 911 immediately, came over to dispatch. We informed that we were already on scene. Officer Sue and I got out, made sure everyone was okay. Sue talked to the driver, who stated he wished to press charges for malicious destruction of property. At that time, Sue went over and talked to James, told him that he was going to be under arrest for throwing rocks at motor vehicles, as well as malicious destruction of property. She read him his Miranda rights, to which he agreed that he understood them. She placed him in the back of the cop car. Right about that time, his dad came out, as well as his mother. She was inside. He was in the garage at that point in time. And they just to explain to them the situation and what was happening. And then after pleading with them, talking a little bit, he let James go to his parents. And she told them that the case would be sent to the prosecutor's office and a warrant could possibly be issued for his arrest at a later date.
Was James physically harmed or injured during the arrest?
No, he was not.
Do you believe that Sue used reasonable force?
I do believe she used reasonable force, yes.
Why?
This is James's fourth incident for the same behavior. He put other lives in danger. He broke 2 laws. Granted, he's a 7-year-old, but officers are here to protect and serve. We're not sure what's going to happen. It was in our best interest, as well as others standing by, that we should contain the situation, put him under arrest, and he was put in the back of the cop car. And Officer Sue cares about him, and she doesn't want to see him on the wrong side of the law. She wants to make sure that he does the right thing and understands how bad this really was, and this, it's a violation that he can't continue. This behavior needs to stop.
Was there just cause in Sue termination?
I don't believe there was just cause in Sue's termination. As the union steward, I don't see anywhere where she violated the employment rules. She didn't touch anybody in an abusive harassing manner, as they stated in rule number 3. She was very calm in the situation. She didn't,
rough. It wasn't a rough arrest or anything like that. Both parties were calm and cooperative. There wasn't any conduct that could damage the reputation of the employer. She was within her right to arrest him, even though he's a juvenile. He still broke the law in her presence, and she didn't break any of the employment laws. And also, you saw that it might be unfair discipline based on the previous example that a similar case happened with another police officer and not discharged. They were put on suspension.
No further questions.
Okay. Do we have any other questions at all?
Yes, we have a cross-exam.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What is your position at the police department?
I'm an officer as well as a union steward.
And how many years have you been the union steward?
10 years.
How long have you known Sue?
She got hired in, I've been the union steward for 10 years, and she got hired in 10 years ago, so I've known her that long.
How long have you been working with her as her partner?
Since the previous altercation last year.
All right. So when you guys came upon James, did she discuss a plan of action with you at all?
She did not. I mean, we were both surprised by, what had happened, but it wasn't, she didn't say, we're going to arrest him. It was just that was her decision that she came to, based on the prior incidents as well as the facts of this particular incident.
So did you say anything to Sue while she was arresting James?
No.
All right. And you didn't say anything to Sue discussing whether you're going to release him or help in the decision making?
She knows the laws.
Okay. And what eventually changed the decision to arrest James and take him in?
Legally, she can't. He's a minor. He's a juvenile, so he has to be released in the custody of his parents. He was released to his parents.
Okay. According to the union's timeline of events, James was put into the car at 4:05. His father arrived at 4:06, and James was not released from the car until 4:12. With his father on scene, the person you're supposed to release him to, why was he in the car for the 6 minutes?
I was trying to we were trying to sort everything out with the parents. Obviously, they're pretty frantic and upset, and just want to keep everybody calm. We didn't want anything to happen that shouldn't have happened. So it's only about 5-6 minutes. It's not like he was in there for an hour or anything. So.
Okay, we have no further questions.
Do we have any other witnesses?
We do not.
No.
Okay, and no other questions?
No.